Hello, awesome people. My name is Mary, and I am one of your friendly teen services librarians here in the East Baton Rouge Parish Library System. And this week, to celebrate the announcement of Splatoon 3, we are going to be making polymer clay Splatoon pendants. So, the usual quick heads up, supplies are limited, first come, first serve, and I'd like to give a shout out to Vimo on the Splatoon Amino for this idea. Alright, so for this craft, you will need 3 colors of polymer clay. You'll need black, you'll need white, and you'll need another bright color. If you pick up the bags here at the library, you'll get orange or green. You will also get an eye pin, a key ring, a toothpick, and a square of aluminum foil. So the first thing you're going to need to do is you need to soften up your clay so you can actually work with it. So this is as easy as, just kind of squeezing it and molding it in your hands and kneading it and just getting it soft and pliable. This is going to take a while, especially with that bright colored clay because it's such a big lump. But just take your time with it and work it until it's nice and soft because you'll need it to be nice and soft and moldable for the rest of this. One recommendation is to start softening up the white clay first, then move on to your bright colored clay, and then move on to the black clay. Now the reason I do this is because the black clay really likes to stick to your fingers. And so if you start softening up the black clay first and then you move on to the white clay, that black clay will come off and it'll make the white clay look kind of muddy and gray. So you can also just wash your hands in between working with each color of clay, but if you want to avoid that extra step, I would start with white, then move on to the bright color, and then move on to the black. Next, you need to make a decision. Do you want to make a squid or do you want to make an octopus? As you can see, each one looks slightly different, and so you'll need to mold different shapes when you get started. So, make your choice, squid or octo. I decided I was going to make a squid. So I'm going to start this off by breaking down the shape of the squid into the simplest parts. As you can see, these parts are a triangle and a rectangle for the head and the body. And then there's 4 small teardrop shapes for the tentacles. Now, if you decide to make an octo, the shapes will be slightly different. You'll have a short kind of teardrop shape for the head, and then you'll have 2 crescent moon or semicircle shapes, and then 2 smaller teardrop shapes for the tentacles. Now go ahead and make these shapes that you broke down out of your brightly colored clay. Real easy. Now, slightly less easy is you need to mold these shapes together so they make the cohesive squid or octo shape. The shapes might start getting lopsided as you're molding them together, but if that's the case, you can reshape as you go. Polymer clay is really forgiving about that. It only gets really difficult to work with after you've baked it. Now, once you've molded everything together, if there are seams still visible, you can keep molding until they go away, but the eyes, once you make those, they should help cover up some of those seams. So it's up to you if you want to keep molding until you get rid of them or not worry about it. Next, you're going to insert your eye pin. You want to push it through the top of your squid or your octo and push it down until it reaches about the bottom of where the body is. Now, you need to be very careful with this and take it slow. You don't want to end up pushing the pin through the back or the front of the clay because that's just going to be a pain in the butt to fix that. So just take it slow, take it careful, kind of keep your fingers on the clay so the pin doesn't push too far one way or too far the other. And you also want to make sure when you put that eye pin in that the loop of the eye pin is facing sideways. So you won't see the loop when you're looking at the squid or the octo face on. The loop will be facing sideways from that. Now it's time to start making your eyes. So I start with the white clay because, like I said, you want to start with white and then go to black. That way the black clay doesn't rub off onto your white clay. Take 2 small pieces of that white clay, roll each one of those small pieces into a ball, and flatten them until they're about the same size. If you roll them and you flatten them out and one is just slightly bigger than the other, or you want them to be more perfectly round, you can use your toothpick and you can kind of cut around them. You can kind of trim off the extra clay so they're more circular or they're more even in size. Now repeat this step with the black clay. Though you want to make these circles, these black clay circles, slightly larger than the white ones, because these black circles will represent the mask on inklings and octolings, just like you can see here. Again, if you need to trim, you can use that toothpick to trim these down to size or trim them down so they're more circular. And finally, make 2 tiny circles out of the black clay, which will be the pupils for the eyes. Now it's time to assemble the eyes. You want to start by placing the mask down. Make sure those black circles are touching. You want to gently mold them together either before you put them onto the squid or the octo you're making, or right after you lay them down on top of the squid or the octo you're making. Next, take those white circles and lay them down on top of the black circles. Now, if you're making a squid, you should make sure those white circles are touching. If you're making an octo, you want to make sure those white circles are not touching. Then lay down the pupils. Now, if you didn't already assemble all of this on top of your squid as you were working, then take your whole ensemble and just gently press them down on top of the pendant. Don't push too hard. You don't want to mess up the shapes, but just press it down enough that it kind of sticks. All right, now it is time to bake. First thing you want to do is lay your pendant down on that square of aluminum foil, and then put that square of aluminum foil onto a baking sheet. It is very important to mention that polymer clay is not food safe. So you don't want to put that clay directly onto the baking sheet, especially if you plan on using that baking sheet to cook food later on. Then preheat your oven or your toaster oven to 230 degrees. And once the oven is preheated, bake your pendant for 30 minutes. All right, when your pendant is done, remove it from the oven, but don't touch it until it's cooled completely. That eye pin is very, very hot. I let mine sit for about 2 hours before I picked it up and messed with it. Now it's time to turn it into an accessory. If you want to make a keychain out of this, put that key ring through the loop in the eye pin and boom, you've got yourself a keychain. Or if you would prefer to make a necklace out of it, you can take a piece of string or a piece of cord and just loop it through that eye pin and you've got a cool necklace. And that's it. You are finished. I hope you enjoyed making this. I hope you have an awesome rest of your summer. And always remember to stay awesome or stay off the hook.